Okay, here we go. Spoken word, by the way. I mean, everything's spoken word because I'm talking. Anyway, in that moment, no one cared who the president was or how the people standing next to them voted. No one even bothered to look at their phone when a notification went off. There was no interest in sharing a TikTok video. No one cared how many followers they had accumulated on social media. No one mentioned any of the newly learned names that were spoon-fed to them by their new media outlets. And no celebrities were mentioned in anyone's conversation. The room stood still. And the silence became the only thing that you could see, hear, and feel. So many people gathered, 91 to be exact. I felt compelled to count. There was no sense of competition amongst any of them. You see, it didn't matter who knew her longer or hung out with her more, or what they ate, drank, or what songs they might have danced the night away to. There was no point in counting how many yesterdays they claimed to have with her, because at that point in time, on that day, everyone was on equal ground, because none of them would ever have a tomorrow with her. Up until that point, she often hid away. Oddly enough, for this, so many of the issues I've already mentioned, you see, she would try to reach out, try to spend time with people, but the conversations usually became uncomfortable. Never, how are you? More, how'd you vote? Less, how do you feel? And more, are you getting vaccinated? Never, are you happy? More, I saw that photo you posted. She was a mother. She had a son. They constantly asked her how the baby was doing, and very seldom showed interest in the health and well-being of the woman responsible for that baby's care. You see, her own mother would be very hurt to know that so few people showed concern for how her baby was doing. They would all force opinions of how she should be, how she should raise her son, who she should date, where she should live, how she should decorate her home. And sadly, so many of those people never even bothered to go to her home. She wanted to be nourished by the company of people she felt loved her and cared for her. She showed up to them to be cared for, but everyone was so attached to their own drama and hostilities that they carried with them wherever they went. Her death created an atmosphere. It's sad. It wasn't until after she was gone that she ended up creating an atmosphere that would have saved her life if she could have ever just enjoyed it just once. An atmosphere where people asked how she was doing. You see, a month ago, my 26-year-old niece died. May 6th, 2021, leaving behind a 10-month-old son who just barely survived. He'd been laying in his crib for well over 11 hours, crying. The reason I'm here to talk to all of you is because I don't think that she should die in vain. I think that the world that we live in, with the tools we have, in a densely populated area with access to each other, an opportunity to reach each other, I think that in this beautiful world we live in, no one should ever feel as alone as she did. No one should feel alone. Be alone, sure, absolutely. Therapeutic, rejuvenating, introvert, extrovert, either way, absolutely. Your fortress of solitude, re-energize and head back into the world. Be alone, sure, but feel alone? Whether you're by yourself or standing in a crowded room, no one should feel that way. And definitely not for so long. I know so many people are so heated talking about names they didn't know yesterday and can't seem to talk about anything else today. But I beg you, before you start to politicize, before you start to feed into the endless drama your TV, computer, and phone will give you, before you do that, check in with the people you're talking to. Check in with how they are, because we are becoming more and more divided, more and more alone. And I don't think it needs to be that way. We focus far too much on our differences. And yet when all is said and done, I don't care how old you are, what color you are, or how you vote. We all suffer from the same fears. We all essentially have the same needs. And we all find joy pursuing the same things. And if we could just focus on those critical points, if we could focus on the things that bring us together, we'll feel more together. But if we continue to hold on to the negativity, to the hostility, what are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? And what good is it to try and be the one who's always right if it causes you to be the only one who's left? Love, talk, embrace, laugh, listen. Because the life you save by doing those things could be on both sides of that phone, both sides of that table, both sides of that room. With the tools that we have, we should be building something beautiful that brings people together, and not use these tools as weapons that tear every one of us apart. This is for you, Aaliyah. And for all of you out there, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, friends, thank you.